Hello and welcome to There's No Business Like, a podcast where friends and industry colleagues explore topics and interview leaders in our industry of professional theatrical touring.
Hey there, it's Josh Benson with There's No Business Like. Today, what we have is part 2 of our live from the booth at Max. A couple of weeks ago at the Midwest Arts Expo, we had a booth and we were interviewing people live in the booth, which you can hear in the background. We're in the middle of the expo hall. There's an energy and there's a life around us. And we're interviewing people who just stop by and we get to hear little snippets. And so this is a compilation episode of those short interviews from the booth. In addition to the people that are being interviewed, you'll also hear the voices of our 5 hosts, myself, Brian Zellmer, Danielle Van Hook, Katie Miller, and Kevin Maynard. Stay tuned, because we'll be back to regular programming. Look forward to seeing you then.
Mary Ann Chris from the Midland Theater in Newark, Ohio. I am the new executive director of the Midland Theater. We are a small 1,200-seat theater, and we belong to the community. We do all kind of arts programming, and our mission is to provide arts entertainment opportunities to all of our members in our community.
Wonderful. So, wait, you said new. How long have you been on the job?
I am a week into the executive director position.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. So then tell me, why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
It provides happiness. I always tell people I'm in the happiness business. Nobody accidentally comes to our theater, and there is so much yuck and junk out there that we have an opportunity and a privilege to give them 2 to 3 hours of a utopia to take them away from anything in the world that is not bringing them happiness.
I love that. I've never heard it phrased like that before, and I really love that.
Thank you.
So why conferences, and what is one of your favorite conference memories?
I'm a people person. My husband tells me I could talk to a doorknob. So give me a room of, I don't have 500 vendors, and this is, Disneyland for me. But getting to meet people who are in our industry, who have, like causes, like missions, and all of the different opportunities that we can bring together to bring to our community and make our community a better place.
So what's the best piece of business advice that you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
Collaboration. Use your references, use your resources, your community members, people in the industry. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate.
That is the name of the game, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what is your hope for the future of our industry? What changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
Our theater is 95 years old, and it's a beautiful historic theater in downtown in our county seat. And I think sometimes people think that the theater and the arts are for the elite and for the fancy. We try to break that stigma and try to tell people it is for everybody. Come as you are. I believe that sometimes on the religious, some of the churches have bought into that, and they believe that they can come as they are. And I hope that for the arts as well. You can come in a cowboy hat and a pair of jeans. You can come in a dress, a fur coat. We don't care. We want you to come and enjoy the entire experience in any way that you can enjoy it.
Yes. What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
Oh, favorite or scary? We had an artist a few years ago that, again, we're grandfathered in. The building is 95 years old. We do have an elevator. We like to use it just for equipment, but we did have somebody that got stuck in the elevator, and we had to postpone the show.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so that was not as magical as the rest of the show was, but it all ended well, and everybody was fine.
Good. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us here on There's No Business Like.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Hi, my name's Kerry Rayburn. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I run the band Good Company. I'm a band leader. I have a 6-piece electro swing band. Electro swing is kind of the 20s and 30s meets electronica. It's a big old dance party. When I'm not doing that, I do some booking myself in Seattle, private event booking, and then I'm a trumpet player. That's my primary thing. So I've done everything from salsa to burlesque shows, and not burlesque personally myself, but playing the trumpet for them.
Sure. Thanks. Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
Oh, man, because it really beats honest work.
Why conferences? And do you have a favorite conference experience?
Yeah, so I started off going to conferences, Arts Northwest, which is the regional conference where I'm from, and I was in a band that was showcasing at it, and I got to know what this whole world was about. I was super introverted at that time, and I had a band leader that kind of forced me to go, if you talk to me the whole time, we're not getting any bookings. Go meet some people, go chat. So over the years, I've really learned to love meeting people, and I kind of realize that it's a great community to be a part of.
Wonderful. What's the best piece of business advice you can offer a colleague that's new to the field?
Yeah, I actually teach a course on the Performing Arts Center market through Ari's Tech University, or Ari's Tech Academy, sorry, that's the name of it. We have a whole course about how to get into this world because it's so it's very unique, and it's not necessarily the most intuitive thing to do. So the number one piece of advice I would say was get a mentor, meet people, talk to them before you spend any money.
Absolutely, that's great advice. What is your hope for the future? Is there anything you'd like to see changed in the next 5 to 10 years?
Audiences turning off Netflix and really making it easier for presenters to come back. I think there's been a little change. And so actually, now that I think about that, on that note, me and Jacob Deaton are really passionate about advertising and reaching audiences in new ways that I would love for presenters to kind of embrace that. And actually, Jacob and I have both given workshops on how to use Facebook marketing and different social media marketing. So I hope there's a little bit of a revolution in the presenting arena, and I hope there's an embrace by agents and performers to work together to reach these audiences that have become a little less accessible than they were before.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you've witnessed or been a part of?
When our band was first starting out, we had a really old laptop. We used Ableton, and we would take forever to load between songs. There was a time that the entire laptop shut down. So what do? We tell jokes, and our favorite joke that we used actually came from my wife, who was the lead singer at the time, and it's two whales are sitting at a bar. One whale turns the other and goes,
And it just goes on, right?
The other whale turns to him and says, "Go home, Steve, you're drunk."
I don't know if I've witnessed that, but I have heard that one. That's great.
So that's really where, people can really distinguish themselves when those mishaps happen. They're like, are you going to fall apart? Are you going to
roll with the punches?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Carrie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
David Mitchell from the Kent State Performing Arts Center, Kent State Tuscarawas in New Philadelphia, Ohio. So professionally at the Performing Arts Center, we're 1,100 seat PAC, and I do booking, marketing, education, sponsorship, grants, oversee the staff, community engagement.
It's a lot of hats, David.
It is a lot of hats. We're a small operation. There's only four of us full time. So yeah.
Excellent. So why the arts? Like, why do you do what you do?
I kind of grew up around the arts, but then as I graduated high school and was looking for that, what are you going to be when you grow up? My dad told me that you are good at maths, you should be an engineer. So I went to school to be an engineer, hated it, couldn't stand it. Switched to business, and that's kind of where my mind is. But the thought of working at a bank or selling life insurance, very valid professions, just couldn't do it, but always surrounded myself in the arts. I always say that I sell fun. Is what we do.
So why conferences? And two-parter, so why conferences, and what is your favorite conference moment? It doesn't have to be from this year, it can be from any conference you've attended.
I am the president of the Ohio Arts Professionals Network.
Oh, excellent.
The board president. So I've always said that with conferences, it's a great way to meet people in person, find friends, make friends, so that networking component, and then figuring out how you can work with your friends. That makes business more fun, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we're in the business of fun.
Yeah. So what's your favorite conference moment or conference memory?
I honestly don't know if I can come up with a single moment.
And it's okay if you can't.
just because, at the end of the day, all the moments blur together, and you look back at conference and just the entire atmosphere, it's amazing. So I don't know if I can think of one particular moment that really sticks out.
That's all good. What is the best piece of advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
Ask questions of everybody. Meet everybody. Because at the end of the day, the arts industry, it's smaller than you think. And you don't know when you're going to run into somebody again. Could be decades after you first crossed paths. So make those friendships, make those relationships, and just ask questions, because we were all in that spot once. And any piece of advice that you can give somebody, it's just, I think that's one thing that our industry does very well, is share knowledge.
So what is your hope for the future of our industry? Like, what changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, what we're all trying to do is just elevate the profile of the arts within all of our respective communities, and further acceptance of the arts within all of our communities. And if little pockets of geography can find that magic formula to share the knowledge and just elevate the profile of the arts across the country.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you witnessed or have been a part of?
In a previous life, I worked for Broadway Across America for 15 years with touring Broadway shows. And one moment that really sticks out is Anne Margaret in the touring Broadway production of The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And it was actually here in Indianapolis, that she broke her wrist, so was doing the show in a cast, apparently on some heavy painkillers. Oh, wow. And so I was walking backstage to settle with the company manager, and it was right about intermission, and just happened to be stuck behind her, and somebody was helping her off stage because she was obviously stumbling, and just going, "Listen to my silly voice." And the ensemble member was absolutely just, yeah, sure, this is great. But just being in that moment to realize, wow, this is Anne Margaret in probably the not most flattering light, and I'm a fly on the wall to get to see it.
To see something. Yeah.
So it wasn't a mishap on stage. She was a true professional, was able to do the show, but just being able to see that. Moments backstage has always stuck out in my head.
Excellent. Well, David, thank you for sitting down.
Kirsten Barando, marketing manager at the Rosé Center for the Performing Arts in Houghton, Michigan. I'm the marketing manager at the Rosé. I do marketing for a series of touring shows, as well as 10 orchestras and theater groups, that sort of thing, at Michigan Technological University.
Excellent. Okay, so why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
I didn't know that my job existed until I was 26 years old, which is a huge part of why what you do is really important, right? And all of the advocacy groups that are doing work out in our industry are really important. So I had done work in nonprofit work. I was really passionate about singing. I loved opera and Broadway. And then I developed marketing skills. It was a thing that I had done because if I was going to sing, I needed to be able to do that. If I was going to, working in nonprofit spaces, being able to market was kind of important. So I developed these skills. And then at age 26, I was actually at that point working in radio and television advertising. And I just looked and I went, if only there was something that would combine these three things. And, everybody in my world was like, so when you're in a show, how do you think people are finding out about that show? How do you think that's happening? And I went, oh, yeah. And I moved to the Twin Cities. I contacted Mary to help me help me figure out how to get into the industry. Mary Jennings is now my supervisor at the Rosé Center for the Performing Arts, but it was just a venue that I knew and a person that I knew at that time. And she helped me figure out how to get started. And I'm just so excited to be part of this industry now. It's incredible. It's wonderful.
It is incredible and wonderful. And we're
Yeah.
so glad to have you.
Oh, thank
so,
you.
Side note, listeners, Kirsten is the vice president of the Michigan Presenters Network, our statewide consortium in Michigan. And I'm very happy to have her on the team. So why conferences, and what is your favorite conference moment?
This is actually my first conference in our industry. I've been to like radio ones and different things, but I've never been to one in our industry before. Even though I've been to conferences in other industries, this is the first one I've been to where I like knew anybody. And so as I'm wandering around, I'm like, oh, hi, to like all of these people that I know, which is really, really exciting. And then I can also ask questions to go like, hey, what people should I be talking to? What when they're doing showcases, and we get to see all of the artists that are coming up that we have the opportunity to book that are doing their showcases. Getting to do all of those things and getting to have input and guidance from other people in our industry is just really magical for me.
So what is the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
As you're looking at like what jobs you're gonna like think about, it doesn't have to be the job that's gonna do that. It has to be the job that's gonna help you develop the skills that you have and need to grow, or that you really need to develop so that you can do the thing that you think is most important.
What is your hope for the future of our industry? What changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
I am really passionate about access. And look, our industry has a history, right? I come from, like, I love opera, right? Like that's kind of like how I came up in our industry. I am not an opera singer now. I am not, but like that's kind of my point of entry. And for me and for much of our industry, there is a feeling that to be a person that goes to the theater, you have to be like a certain kind of person, or like a thing that I hear is like the idea of like being somebody with, gray hair and pearls getting dropped off by the driver. I don't think people literally think that's what's happening, but they do. There is like a feeling that's who this is for. And I think that like there are some practices that we're doing that perpetuate that. And so I really want to see us figuring out how are we breaking down a variety of various price barriers so that it is actually accessible to a lot of people. How are we breaking down like any various stigma? How are we making sure that the programming that we're doing is for the people in our communities, that it actually represents the human beings that are here that live in our communities?
What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
What I am thinking about is a time I was in Pirates of Penzance, and there's like a moment where we all like paused at the end of a piece. It was all of the daughters and just everybody's kind of like posed all together, and I was like sort of like crouch kneeling, and I got a horrible cramp in one of my legs.
Oh no!
And so once it's done, everybody finishes clapping. You're supposed to like get up and prance off beautifully, and my legs just cramped, and so I'm trying really, really hard to push up, and like can't, and I'm like trying to reach around and figure out what to do, and somebody was just like ha ha ha, and like grabbed my arm and like hoisted me up. And it was pretty goofy. I don't think it was subtle from the audience. It was nice.
Good. Well, at least you didn't like topple over.
I didn't topple over. I stayed on the stage. There was no like falling into the pit. That was good. That's always
good.
A win.
Safety first.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, Kirsten, thank you so much for joining us on There's No Business Like. It was so great to have you.
It was great being here, Katie. Thank you so much.
I am Jared Dumovic. I'm the Vice President of Programming and Engagement at the Marcus Performing Arts Center in Milwaukee. I'm in the good and fortunate position to say yes as a job title. So it's a lot of fun when you get to book the things that are going to have a change in your community. They're going to impact people and make people happy. But you said short, but my responsibility is what everybody else has to do, what everybody else does with their disposable income at the end of the day. They go to their job and then they choose to do what I get to do for a living every day.
That's awesome. Why the arts? Why do you do exactly what you do? Which, I mean, you already kind of alluded to, but...
Yeah. So a long time ago, I broke my arm in high school football and had to do something else with my afternoon. And I chickened out of an audition for West Side Story. which is my favorite musical. I walked up to the director and said, "Listen, I can't audition. I'm not. But if you saw fit to give me like a spear carrier role, I'd be happy to accept it as a person who would be here to show up and volunteer for that situation." And she gave me a speaking role, and it was all over from there. I'd always been in and around performing arts and dabbled in other artistic activities as well. But as I dig back into my memory, it's I've always kind of wanted to put on a show somehow. Even in the situations where that wasn't the overt purpose, it's always been about putting on a show.
Why conferences, and what is your favorite conference moment?
Oh my gosh. I think my favorite conference moment was meeting Josh Benson in Grand Rapids at the Midwest Arts Conference, which was the Midwest Arts Conference, MAC, back in the day. It was a serendipitous moment where troublemakers found one another and proceeded to persuade everybody else to make poor choices for a long time.
Yeah, a decade running so far.
That's right. But why conferences? I mean, there's no two ways about it. What we do is live. That is the nature of it. And if we weren't able to commune live, if this had to be Zoom forever, I think that most of us would walk away from it because it's about the personal interaction. It's about the community. It's about seeing everybody's collective emotional response to the act on stage or the joke that was told in the party or whatever it is. I mean, that's a lot of what drives us, I think. I mean, I spend actually a fair amount of my time in the theater watching everybody else watch the show that is going on, because that's just that is what does it for me just as much as the amazing talent that we get to present.
Yeah. What is the best piece of business advice that you can offer to colleagues in the field?
Flexibility is something that will serve you very well. Because realistically, 90% of this job is just expectation management all day long, and that goes for yourself too. I mean, if you can manage your own expectations about what we're going for, what we're gonna get, what show is gonna play off, what show is gonna get booked, how many tickets you're gonna sell, how people will respond to it. I mean, all of those things are largely out of your control, and so I think that being able to roll with the punches, being able to celebrate successes, and that's another reason why we gather together at conferences, is to celebrate successes, but also to commiserate so I think that my advice is be flexible, take advantage of those opportunities to celebrate, and also to commune and commiserate as well.
What's your hope for the future of our industry? And what changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that some of the things that continue to put us into positions of consternation with one another center around the greed and the wanting to be first or only or have some sort of exclusivity. We're all human, and we all have those instincts. The corporate side of what's going on here is we're all jealous of the bigger show and the higher ticket sales and all of that. And so if I could wave a magic wand and change something, it would be somewhere in that realm of taking the commercial aspect of it and flipping it on its head. Like, I love a spreadsheet. I love a budget. I love to put that puzzle together. But and this goes back to the expectation management side of it as well. But if I were to rely solely upon the numbers and operate in that territory, I would just be crazy all the time and angry about things that are, again, out of my control. So I think recognition of that, and recognition that the humanity is what we're bringing to it. The humanity is what we're bringing to the stage, what we're bringing to your community. I think if we can focus a little bit more on that, those elements of it, because we talk about, this impacts the artists, this impacts the teams that are bringing the artists. Everybody talks about being exhausted, but they want to put on the next show. Those structural elements that sort of force our hand into doing another show and putting on, selling one more ticket and that sort of thing, sure, it drives innovation. It motivates us to do better. It's also a double-edged sword, and it can cut the other direction as well. And I think we need to learn as an industry how to slow down sometimes and how to appreciate what we do have.
What is your favorite on-stage disaster that you've either witnessed or been a part of?
Oh my gosh, this is serendipitous because it took place here in Indianapolis. I worked at Clues Hall on Butler campus, so it's now the Butler Arts Center. We had a giant fundraiser, and a significant dignitary's wife was making a speech, and she may have been having some things to drink. And there was, at the same time that she was speechifying, there was a slow reveal of a piano coming up from the pit. The pit was loaded from the basement with a pianist and a piano, and it was making a slow reveal. She made a comment like, "I'm just going to step out of the limelight for just a second so that we can more adequately appreciate something that she was applauding at the time." And she was still applauding. She stepped to the right of the podium and disappeared, and the audience thought, wow, that was a neat trick. But then, very slowly, her crumpled body was like raised up on this pit that was being raised to reveal the piano. And I turned to my boss, and she said, "Get a sheet." And so I ran outside. There were all these bars set up and all these cocktail tables, and I, Houdini'd this tablecloth off of a highboy and ran to the front of the stage. And so it's like myself holding this sheet in front of her body between myself and the audience. It's my butt on the cameras, which were also broadcasting for, because she's a person of import and all this stuff. So that's probably the one.
Wow. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Spring Carlo. I'm a co-director of Holden and Arts Associates, and we are based out of Austin, Texas. I am a booking agent. Our agency specializes in performances for youth and family audiences, everything from large-scale musical versions of Cat in the Hat to tiny Danish puppets.
Awesome. Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
My background is in the arts. I feel like the arts helped shape me as a human being and gave me a broader world perspective than the small town that I was raised in. And I knew I didn't want to be an actor on stage, but I knew I wanted to be involved somehow.
Why conference? And do you have a favorite conference moment?
I love conferences. As agents, we work very isolated on the phone, behind email all the time. Since the pandemic, I don't even go into an office anymore. So having the ability to meet people face to face and to have that kinesthetic kind of improvisational exchanges rather than just the agenda that we're having the meeting for is really, really awesome.
I agree. What's the best piece of business advice you can offer a new colleague in the field?
My mentor, Larry Kaufson, who I was assigned as my very first new colleague interaction, told me once that this is a business all about relationships, but you can't take it personally. Mm-hmm. And that's come in handy.
Very wise. What is your hope for the future, and is there anything you'd like to see change in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think especially coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people are feeling really conservative around risk and around original programming. Obviously, everyone's trying to bring back ticket buyers and patrons and by programming things that they feel will be more familiar. But what I would really love to see is to people get more adventurous, and start taking those risks again.
Do you have a favorite stage mishap that you've either witnessed or been a part of?
I mean, the best stage mishaps are the one that the audience never finds out about, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's like someone completely ghosting on their line or someone completely being off stage and then someone else saving the show. I don't have anyone specific in mind. I guess one thing that did happen for us during the pandemic was that we had a 2-person show, and both the production manager and the crew and one of the performers both got COVID. Somehow the artistic director happened to be in town at the right time and was able to rework the show to be a 1-person show. Wow. Because in a 2-person show, you just know all the lines anyways, right? So in that case, I think that was the most creative situation, and the audience had no clue.
That's awesome. Spring, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
Jackie Banks-Malum, Program Director at the Illinois Arts Council Agency. So I oversee certain disciplines with the Illinois Arts Council Agency and other grant programs to provide funding for arts throughout the state of Illinois.
And Jackie, why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
Because the arts are critical to our state and our communities. They're an economic driver. They are the source of community and the heart of our state.
Yes, thank you. So why conferences?
They're such a great place to connect, to meet colleagues from around the country, and to become closer with your local colleagues as well and learn more about what they do.
Excellent. And do you have a favorite conference moment?
I think my first peek at the showcase last night. So far, yeah.
Excellent. Well, good. What's the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
I think just don't be afraid to reach out and have conversations, with fellow colleagues and with funder opportunities as well. At the for this conference, they had a new orientation yesterday I attended, and I felt like one of the fellow conference goers said, "This is about making new friends," and that seemed like a really good piece of advice for me to take forward too.
Yeah, that's a great motto. What is your hope for the future of our industry? Like, what changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
For the agency, I would love to see us have more funds to distribute around the state of Illinois. And I'd really love to see the arts sector as a whole collaborate more and continue to lift each other up.
Yes, snaps all around. What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
Oh, my background is stage management.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was stage managing a piece for the Peoria Ballet. And we had a horse. We were doing Don Quixote a moment of it. And rehearsal went great, and we didn't think about the fact that we changed where the fog machine was prior to performance, so the horse would not exit the stage.
Oh my God.
And so we couldn't move any of our flies, and we just had a horse on stage for a while. And the dancers were awesome, and they just kept going, dancing around a horse till we could clear the fog away to get it off stage.
All right. Well, Jackie, thank
All
you
right.
for stopping in and sitting down with me.
Love it.
Ann Grove, UMS, Ann Arbor, Michigan. I am mom to all the artists that we bring in at UMS, so I get to take care of their housing and their transportation, their food, if they need medical care while they're in town, and yeah.
Okay, so why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
I started as a voice performance major and realized that I like being behind the scenes a lot better than being in front, and still wanted to be intimately involved with the product, not really interested so much in being like an upper management manager. And so being in company management, tour management, artist services seemed to fit the bill.
Wonderful. So why conferences, and what is your favorite conference memory?
Conferences for me is about making the relationships and maintaining the relationships, growing them, because our business is all about the relationships. And I might have an artist that I want to book and I can't book them this season, but that doesn't mean that we can't keep talking and find the right time, the right fit. And when you have those relationships with the agents and the managers, then you can have those delayed bookings, and you can work towards getting someone there rather than just having to say no.
Right.
You say, no, it's not this season, but in a future season.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have a favorite conference memory?
Old Arts Midwest, many, many years ago, and I won a whole bunch of CDs from all of the different agencies. It was one of those raffle things. It was kind of crazy.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay. So what is the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
Talk to everyone. And again, it's not about the sell, it's about building the relationship.
Okay, what is your hope for the future of our industry? What changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
To continue growing the diversity of the artists, so that it's easier for emerging artists to be booked, to find representation, to get known. Also growing the administrative talent, because we're all aging, and many of us have been doing this for a long time, and we want to grow the up-and-coming members of our organization.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
We had an artist that showed up 2.5 hours late to a performance.
Oh no!
Landed in Detroit and went to the casino rather than coming to the venue first.
Oh no! Oh my gosh! Wow, that is a story.
It was a lot of vamping on stage and trying to keep the audience engaged while we waited for the artist to show up.
Wow. I really hope that never happens to me at any point in my career. But if it does, I'll be calling you for advice. Well, Anne, thank you so much for stopping by. I adore you so much. I'm so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's great to talk with you.
Hi, my name is Robert Baird, and I'm actually from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. My organization is called BAM, Baird Artist Management Consulting. I am a consulting person who brings in foreign artists from around the world into North America, into Canada and the United States. I do visas and waivers, and I do taxation for foreign artists who don't know exactly what's involved in coming to North America.
Wow. Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
Because from a young age I was an artist myself, and I became a choral conductor, and I conducted musical theater around the world, conducted Phantom of the Opera for Lloyd Webber in Hamburg for over a year. And when I came back to Canada, I became an agent, so I had an agency in Toronto for many years, and so I've always been in the arts, and it's been one of my passions.
Why conferences, and what's one of your favorite conference moments?
I like conferences because it brings together artists and presenters and everybody who's intelligent, thinking about the arts. And I think it's a segment of our society that really needs to be encouraged. And my favorite conference activity is meeting people and talking to them and actually helping out people, whoever I can, to advise them from my years of experience as being a manager, an artist, and a consultant.
What's the best piece of business advice you can offer to new colleagues?
Try to think like the other person, because if you're only focused on yourself, then I think that leaves out the other person and you can't understand them. And especially in our business where it's artist and presenter, what does the presenter need? So you have to understand them to make that connection. So I think that's my best piece of advice.
That's great. What is your hope for the future of our industry, and what changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, so our industry always says, it pays lip service to the fact that we're all in this together, but in fact we are not all in this together, and I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more cooperation. I'm not sure how it can be achieved, but I certainly think it's possible, and I think that more young people coming in will perhaps be able to change the industry a little bit, because, everything gets set in its ways, and so we need some innovation. And I'm hoping that in the next 5 years I see conferences where that is more exemplified in our world, so that, artists and presenters are getting along a lot better than they do now. Because it's a little bit, it's difficult. It's difficult. Let's make it easier, however we can do that.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
Phantom of the Opera. There's a huge scene, I don't know if you've seen it, but after the overture, when the soprano comes on stage, and of course the chandelier comes down, and the Phantom has made it a mishap on stage. And in Germany, what happened one night was the chandelier came down and stopped halfway, and nobody knew what to do. So the soprano looked up, and it wasn't happening the way it's supposed to be. The staging that was required, and so we had to stop. And they ratcheted back this chandelier. And I got the instruction. I was conducting the orchestra, of course, and I got the instruction that we're going to start over. And we started over. But it's always funny when something happens. You're like, you never know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, and especially in a musical like that, which is so particular, that it's not like you could go on, because the chandelier would be hanging there while everything else was happening.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Genevieve DeMerchant from You Will Love It Live. I'm an independent booking agent. I have an agency in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I work primarily with Canadian artists in music, a little bit of theater, small-scale theater, all different genres of music. So world, jazz, I have a little reggae, pop and rock and roots and blues. Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Awesome.
Oh, and classical.
So why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
I grew up singing. My mom is a concert pianist, and so I was just surrounded by music all the time, and I don't know how to do anything else.
I understand. So why do you think going to conferences is important?
Oh, the connections that we make, especially for me. I work by myself. A lot of time I'm sitting at my desk at home. It gets really lonely. So these conferences are such a nice way to connect with people. Phone calls are great too, but I love the face-to-face. And you really, it's more interesting working with people who you know, right? Who you've connected with.
Absolutely. Do you have any favorite conference moments?
Maybe last night. I was watching Motown and More. They're my booth neighbors, I guess. And their show so the band is Legacy. Their show was phenomenal, and it was so fun to watch because it was a packed room and everybody was having a good time. Lots of clapping. Everybody was, swinging, and yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get a group of people in a hotel room, hotel or ballroom, or even. What's the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
Figure out your systems early on, how you want to do things, and then be consistent about it. I think consistency is more important than getting it right most of the time. It makes it easier to fix later.
That's good advice. And what's your hope for the future of the industry? Are there any changes you'd like to see in the next 5 or 10 years?
I want to see more women on stages, festivals especially. I think that's so important. I was just at a festival last week, and I was looking at the lineup and thought, okay, this is great. There are 3 women tonight and 3 men, but the men were all on the main stage and the women were all on the side stage. No, we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, making waves, but not quite there.
Yes.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you've witnessed or been a part of?
So I work with an artist, Anne-Marie Scheffler. She's a comedian and actor. And there's this one a video, I guess, of one of her shows that I love watching over and over again because she's talking to the audience, and all of a sudden somebody catcalls her from out here, and she turns, and just her timing is always so good on stage, and I love the ability to come out of character and pop back into it. So she looks over and she's like, "Is that you, Jack?" And like the whole audience just loses it, and then she's like right back into character. And yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Hi, I'm Kara Beckstein. I'm from the Renaissance Performing Arts in Mansfield, Ohio. I am the programs manager at my 1,400-seat PAC.
Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
I was actually a performer as a child, and as years passed and I became a mom, my kids started getting involved in it. I was there all the time. I just actually started picking up random jobs while I was there because I was there constantly. And eventually they were like, "You need to be employed. You need to work here."
Nice.
No joke.
Nice.
That is how I got into it again.
Perfect. Why conferences? What's one of your favorite conference moments?
Because I come in and I get to see all the new stuff. I get to find acts that are just completely different than what I do back home. And that's important to me. I get to take good stuff back to my audiences, and they just love it. Oh, one of my favorite conference moments. This is a hard one because there's so many favorite conference moments, but, oh gosh.
It's fine. It's sometimes you just can't think of it on the spot, and that's fine. What's the best piece of business advice you can offer a new colleague just entering the field?
Take your time with everything and just breathe, because it is so much. And there's so many different aspects of what we do it's just really important to take baby steps into it and not get overwhelmed by it.
That is excellent
and
advice.
have mentors. Mentors are so important.
What is your hope for the future of our industry, and what do you hope changes in the next 5 to 10 years?
I feel like I am still really new and I'm still continuing to learn the industry. I feel like I can't really honestly answer that quite yet because I am so new to it.
When you say you're new, how long have you been in the industry?
2 years.
Okay. And
2 years. Came in.
And it's right after the pandemic. So.
Right after the pandemic, and I came in very blindly to this. You know, I knew the business, but I was completely at a different area of the business. You know,
Meaning
I don't.
What does that mean?
Okay, so conventions.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was doing conventions, which is very different than what we do here. I'm still learning.
Fine.
I'm still a newbie.
You don't need to know everything either. That's fine.
Yeah, that's exactly like the whole baby steps thing. That's yeah.
Well, thank you, Kara. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
I'm Jacob Kinderman. I am the Midwest booking agent for Opus 3 artists in New York City. I represent Opus's large and fantastic roster, about 250 odd artists that range from classical to contemporary and film licenses. We work with PACs all over the country. They're great partners for us. We represent a lot of really important artists like Yo-Yo Ma. We work with Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. It's a great roster. I'm still a little fresh, so I'm a little starry-eyed about coming here. I'm about 3 months in, but love the people. I love the roster. It's great.
Awesome. Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
Good question. I grew up in a very musical household. Both my parents, before I was born, my dad owned a music shop for 10 years. From the 70s to the 80s, and this is in Spokane, Washington, and it was very successful. They were the #1 Martin guitar salesman in Spokane for many years, and he eventually decided to have a second career and became an architect and engineer, built bridges for the Washington State Department of Transportation. But when he closed the shop, they put a ad out in the paper saying, come get all your broken instruments that we tried to repair, and many people didn't come. So I grew up in this house with literally close to 100 instruments that decorate our walls, and my dad's sort of a Mary Poppins man type of musician. He plays over 10 instruments. He's really steeped in sort of the folk music world, which is big in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Both my parents play, and so I just grew up in a household where it was expected to have an instrument in your hand, and when they would bring friends over to jam, I'd be 12, 13 years old, they'd stick the guitar in my hand, and it was folk music, so I had to play the same 3 chords for 4 hours. But it turned me into a pretty good rhythm player. But I just grew up in this house, and by the time I got to college, it was the only thing I wanted to do. It was really the only thing I thought about, and ended up going to school for music, got a degree in guitar and voice in undergrad, and went on to Westminster Choir College to study opera. And before I got into booking, I was a full-time opera singer, and a few years later fell into this job, and I've been booking ever since.
Why conferences? And what is your favorite conference moment?
I mean, the obvious thing is it's just a great opportunity to see people in person. You know, we're all over the country. We talk to each other. You know, Zoom's been great in the past few years, but there's nothing like that person-to-person interaction, breaking bread with people. You get a sense of people's spirit, and you know, when you can look into their eyes and see what they're passionate about in the arts, and figure out their interests and the incentives of their market and what they're trying to get done. And I think in person is the way to do that. So I've definitely become a conference guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice that you could offer to a new colleague just now coming into the industry?
Try to be, open-minded and flexible about where this career could lead you. You know, when I became a booker, I didn't even know this job existed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, quite literally. I just didn't even understand what a booker was. If you would have asked me at 15 years old I would end up doing this, I would have looked at you like you had 2 heads, Yeah. And even if you had your sights set on being a rock star, when you're a teenager, that stay open, look for opportunities, meet more people, try to go outside of your own art form. One of the things another one I never could have imagined learning about a lot was dance. I've booked a lot of dance over the years, and I can't dance. I don't know anything about it, but I love booking it. I love learning about the artists. Legacy programs like Alvin Ailey have an incredible history, and they're so important. And so that's been a real joy for me in the career, just learning about a lot of these art forms that were just not a part of my life growing up, and now it's given me a thirst for more of that. I'm as curious as I've ever been.
Yeah.
I like hearing about interesting projects, new music, and just staying open.
What is your hope for the future of our industry, and what changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think one big challenge now is that, in the age of YouTube and TikTok and, through technology, you can really find niche audiences all over the world. We have a lot of conversations in the office about how do these fascinating talents that are all over the planet that can reach millions of views, but how do they translate into ticket sales, live performance? If it's something that goes well for 60 seconds on a YouTube short, does that translate to a 60-minute program, and sourcing new young artists? That's one thing I find myself thinking about a lot, because when it's not the days of when Yo-Yo Ma was discovered, right? It's a different world from then. And it's fascinating to hear about. There's a great manager at Opus named Matthew Oberstein who has an incredibly diverse and eclectic collection of artists, and he seems to be one of these people that cracks this code. And so it's great to work with people like that who really understand it. But I think that's one of the big question marks now is how do we sort of navigate it? And if someone has a couple million views on YouTube, does that really translate into a touring career that's a great live experience? And the only way we can do that is you sign people, you take the risk, you roll the dice, you see what happens, you follow your own interests and passions. But I think that's one of the big things now is it's not as concentrated as it was, say, 60s, 70s, and 80s with the community concert associations that used to be, at a different level and have a larger presence. And so it's a different ballgame now. It's much more diverse, much more splintered. And I don't have the answers to it, and we take it one artist at a time and just see who really connects with us. But I'd say that takes up a lot of my own sort of creative thinking about how to navigate that moving forward.
What is your favorite stage mishap or disaster that you have been a part of or witnessed?
Back in my opera days, I definitely fell on my butt a few times, slipping on something that was nice and embarrassing, but nothing absolutely major. I don't think I've ever experienced a true disaster in myself. Though one time I was at the Met Opera, and one of the singers fell down the stairs, and they had to start the show over.
Oh man!
And they brought out the cover, and I remember Jonas Kaufman was the tenor. It was a production of Faust, and a woman was supposed to walk up the stairs, and we saw her appear, and then she disappeared down the stairs again. And it was Kaufman all of a sudden started waving his arms, stopped the orchestra, and said, "We've got to stop the show." And they shut down for 20 minutes, came back out, the cover came out, and did a really great job. But that moment sticks out in my mind because it was like Jonas being a human being for a moment, and really seeing like, oh, these are people, they're up there, doing it, and that was a pretty wild experience. Probably only the second time I'd ever been to the Met that time. Yeah, so that stuck with me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for sitting down, man.
Cool, absolutely.
Jamie Sucille from Togo Touring Artists and Smoke and Sled Dog Records. I'm the founding artist and senior agent at both of those places. Well, I am primarily a booking agent for performing artists, and we go to booking conferences and place our artists in anywhere from performing arts centers to clubs. We also do some managing, so we just continue to try to advance the opportunities for our artists. We also have a couple of adventure outreach educator artists. They're artists too on our roster, and we do the same with them, try to get them in community arts or any type of yellow bus series and performing arts centers. And
cool.
And so, basically our product is art and passion and joy.
I love that. So why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
It's what I've been interested in since my earliest memories. 5 years old, sitting on the living room floor, cutting out a cardboard crown and putting Reynolds wrap over it to make a crown as I'm watching Cinderella, but not thinking I wanted to be Cinderella. I wanted to be the actress.
Oh, I see.
In Cinderella.
Okay.
And then, of course, music in my household, very much a huge thing. So I started piano and guitar and vocal lessons and did musicals and
but I took off from there.
Right. And I love marketing. I love sales. And so, started a record label because I just am passionate about all genres of music. I love musicals too. And so it's just always where my heart has been.
Why conferences? And what is your favorite conference memory?
I love conference season. Like, I get so excited about it, and I've missed it so much, too. What's my favorite conference memory?
Yeah.
Wow, I would say right now.
Yes.
I mean, I remember my very first conference in the Performing Arts Center market was in 2011. I was, free range booking before that. And it was in Indianapolis. And I love the idea of everybody working together, the agents, the artists, the presenters, all working together toward the same goal. And man, I worked that first conference like I was a politician. I wanted to know everybody.
So what's the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
You need to be persistent, and you need to be proactive. And part of that just starts with figuring out who you are and how you're going to approach the business. And just remember that we're dealing with humans who are mostly in the same business, like you said, for a reason. A lot of agents and presenters have also been in the field as performers in some capacity or the other. And I think we just have to work with respect and try to just remember why we're here and all move together forward.
What is your hope for the future of our industry? What changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
I don't think we're back yet, PC, post-COVID, and people are being a little more cautious right now still because it's not over for our industry yet. In fact, I know some presenters who are just having their first season this year. 2023, fall of 2023. I think just making sure that we're being really consistent with making sure our audiences trust us. And how you do that is make sure that you're offering high caliber performances.
So what is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
I was on stage with my duo partner, John Latini, who was very, very funny. And one time, I had picked up my glass of water to take a drink in between songs, and he said something very hilariously funny. And really, I spit the water all over me. But I was like, I'm sorry, because I would just die if somebody spit water in my face. But that was a win for him because he made me laugh that hard. He loved it.
John really was so funny. He was so lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sitting down with me, Jamie Sue.
You're welcome. Thanks, Katie.
My name is Jason Cohen. I'm the director of the Milton and Tamar Maltz Performing Arts Center at the Temple Tifereth Israel on the campus of Case Western Reserve University. I run a performing arts center.
Excellent. And Jason, why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
I got started in high school, my freshman year, sweeping the stage.
Oh.
And it's been a theater business ever since.
Excellent. And what made you progress through that? Just keeping going? Was it just that you were hooked right at the beginning?
Yes. The camaraderie, the people backstage, the people on stage, you all got to work together.
Excellent. Why conferences? Why do you attend conferences?
To meet people, to meet artists, to meet collaborators.
Excellent. And what is your favorite conference moment?
Discovering something new.
What's the best piece of business advice you can offer to your colleagues new in the field?
Cover your labor costs.
What is your hope for the future of our industry? What changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
Bigger audiences.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
I was stage managing Naked Boys Singing in the West Village of Manhattan. And the theater started backing up with raw sewage from underneath the stage and the audience.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to evacuate the theater through the emergency exit while playing The Floor is Lava, because it wasn't lava, it was something else. That was the biggest mishap of my career.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Well, Jason, thanks for stopping in.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Reba Caffarelli. I'm the general manager of Third Coast Percussion based in Chicago, Illinois. Third Coast Percussion is a nonprofit organization. We support the efforts of the Third Coast Percussion Quartet. They are a worldwide touring ensemble. They commission new work. They do a lot of educational programs and residencies. And my job is to support all of those efforts. I help to run the nonprofit, and I also do all of the booking. We do booking in-house. and manage a staff of 4 in addition to the 4 ensemble members. And we have a board of directors, and so we interact with them as well. And just the goal is to get percussion ensemble music as far and widespread as possible.
Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
I grew up in a musical family, and it's just always been in my blood. Played violin from the age of 3, so classical music specifically has always been my thing. Went up through the conservatory program, thought I was going to be a performer, but one day I had an epiphany that I just wanted to be behind the scenes and making things possible for other artists, and that's my North Star and what I work towards every day.
Excellent. Why conferences? What is your favorite conference moment?
I just love coming to a conference and finding out that somebody I had a connection to years ago is here for a different reason than I ever would have expected, and reconnecting with them.
That's awesome.
Because all the different facets of my life, whether it be music school or all the different types of jobs I've had, I just keep running into wonderful people over and over again at these conferences, and maintaining those relationships is the best.
I agree. What's the best piece of business advice you can offer a new colleague?
Yeah, it's all about relationships and maintaining those, and always having the best intentions with your colleagues, because that's what's going to matter and going to help support the arts in the end, is just having a positive outlook and relationship with all of those around us.
Nice. What's your hope for the future? Is there anything you'd like to see changed in the next 5 to 10 years?
I just hope that we all can have a positive outlook. I know sometimes it's a difficult thing to do when a lot of the odds are stacked against us as an industry in the performing arts, and I would just like to see everyone have a positive mindset about the challenges that we face, and continue to build relationships that are built on teamwork and mutual respect, and I think that will take us all a long way.
Nice. Thanks for joining us, Reba.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Matt Travis, Chief Operating Officer, Midland Center for the Arts. I oversee facilities, food and beverage, programming, marketing, and also IT.
Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
I think the arts have an incredible ability to improve the quality of lives of others through participation, whatever mechanism you want to do that, whether you want to make the art yourself, whether you want to appreciate the art through attending performances, whether you want to produce it. It just can enhance all that we do and make us better as people and make us feel better about ourselves.
Why conferences, and what is your favorite conference memory?
I love conferences because one of my favorite things is to just ideate. When I attend a lot of these meetings with agents, I never know kind of what's going to come, and it's hard to know what might resonate with somebody when you say, hey, do you have any artists that are interested in X? And they might say, yeah, they really love that idea. Let's talk more about creating something new or producing something new, which I think is really exciting. My favorite conference memory was at APAP in 2019. Rockapella, the a cappella group of my childhood, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego. Yeah. Anyway, they were showcasing for small groups in a suite in a hotel room, and so I went up to one of their performances, and they asked if anybody had any requests. They hadn't yet sung Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and I requested it, but my only regret is that I didn't say, do it, Rockapella, which is like the catchphrase that kicked that tune off. So that was fun.
You will regret that for the rest of your life.
I still do. It's almost 5 years.
So what's the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
Know who you are and be true to it. And I know that that's kind of very broad, but I really think there's incredible power in being curious and being good to other people, being kind. And I think if you can find those two kind of tenets within yourself and amplify them, I really think that there's incredible power in your future and your path.
What is your hope for the future of our industry? What changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'd love to see spaces that are truly inclusive for everybody, regardless of their level of ability, for their level of socioeconomic background, for their race, for their gender identity. Spaces where everybody truly feels comfortable and welcome. And that's a delicate balance with the financial mechanism of it. How do we make it accessible from a financial standpoint, and how do we make it welcoming. And sometimes those two play nicely together, and sometimes they don't. And so that's something that when you ask me if there's one thing that I could figure out how to do when I grow up, that would be one thing that I wish I could figure out to do. Maybe not when I grow up, but like right now. Because I think that our industry is kind of sitting right in that axis, and we got to figure it out.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you have either witnessed or been a part of?
I'll share two quick stories. One was I was in a production of A Child's Christmas in Wales, which is about the story of Dylan Thomas growing up, the Welsh poet. And I was playing the part of Dylan Thomas when I was 8 or 9 years old, and essentially I was giving a monologue on a 6-foot platform, and somebody threw up all over the stage. The audience collectively went, ew! And, a poor woman, a wonderful mother, because mothers are amazing people, and I continue to be inspired by my own, and so many. Her job was to walk out on stage and clean up the puke while we figured out how to improvise our way through the rest of the show. The other was quite odd. My sister, who's an incredible performer, has been on Broadway. In high school, there's an opportunity in our region for you to direct other students. So I was maybe 16. My sister was like 12 or 13. And it was a kids' production of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, actually, which we have coming up at our venue this year. And so myself and 3 of my friends were the directors. This also involved somebody getting sick. Katie was playing the female lead, and the guy that played Ichabod Crane got sick in mid-show and couldn't finish it. And so everybody else in the production crew, the directors, were either running spot or running sound. They all had some active job in the show. I did not. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on stage and finish the show, which the decision was made in a split second. And in the very first scene I walked out there, we clearly didn't think about it. I was on stage proposing to my sister, as like a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. We hadn't thought about it, but in that moment, there was some clever line about there are very strange things going on in Sleepy Hollow, and I still remember a very different inflection and a very different meaning than the Washington Irving's original intent. So there you go.
That is a wonderful story, and thank you so much for sharing with us, and thanks for being on There's No Business Like.
You bet. Thank you.
Audrey Johnson of the I Sing. I do a one-woman show on the women's suffrage movement. So I'm a classically trained opera singer, but I have cultivated a patriotic performance platform called Of the I Sing, American Heritage Through Song. It has the mission of bringing American heritage to music in an empowering and inclusive way, and I do this by going into the historical musical archives, bringing up music from the history of our nation from various historical periods, putting that together in a one-woman show, and taking it on the road.
Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
My father swears I was speaking at 9 months with full sentences by 1 year. So communication has always been something that has been an intrinsic part of me. I've been singing since before I can remember, and it's always just been that most authentic means of communication for me. So it's something that's always just been a part of me, and that's what I decided to pursue.
Why conferences, and what is your favorite conference moment?
Sure. Well, so as a classically trained artist, the majority of my career has been on the more traditional operatic path. But a couple of years ago, I decided that I really wanted to take the reins in a more intentional way with what I was doing with my artistry. So I put together my inaugural program on the women's suffrage movement, and that took me into a different industry. And so I have a dear friend of mine who is very supportive in this new work that I'm doing. He knew me before when I was we go way back. We went to school together, and he said, Audrey, you should really do the Max conference, because now that you are really delving into this new industry, it's going to be an amazing way for you to learn very quickly about this new industry that you have been operating in an unofficial capacity. And I want you to make that official for yourself, and this conference is going to be the best way for you to do it. And he was right. I live in Lafayette, so just an hour and change north of here. So this was a real no-brainer in terms of.
So is this your your first
It's
conference?
I'm such a newbie.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
what is, I mean, I guess you've got a short time frame. So what is your favorite conference moment so far?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's been a blur. So I'm like, okay, can we hit the pause button so that I can, making friends with some of the artists in the industry has been such a beautiful thing. And we're talking total like cross genre, but just that mutual appreciation, that mutual understanding of the work that we do, the passion that we share for our various art forms. It's such a validating and affirming feeling that really, I know that's going to keep that momentum going for me long after this conference has ended.
What's the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
Ladies, I know you want to wear those heels. I know you do. Girls, bring a pair of flats to wear at night, okay? Because otherwise, it's going to be 11 o'clock at night, and you're going to be walking back from your showcase with this wagon, and you're going to say, you know what? I'm taking off my shoes, and it is going to feel better than any walk on the beach you've ever had. Don't do that to yourselves, okay? Get yourselves a little pair of black flats or something.
What is your hope for the future of our industry? Like, what changes would you like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh gosh. Well, being so new to this particular segment of the performing arts industry myself, I feel that it's not quite really my place, I guess. But perhaps one thing would be, streamlined practices so that everyone can get to the end result with a little bit more certainty, clarity, and efficiency would be wonderful. One of the biggest reasons that I came to this conference was to learn what I know that there are things that I don't know that I don't know, but that I know, right? And part of that is because I feel like without understanding and having a clear trajectory and a clear process, it can feel so haphazard. And that can really kill that momentum because you get a feeling of, I'm not really being effective. And so the clearer that those things can be from the very beginning, for even just somebody that's new to the industry even, that would be so helpful. And it would, I think, give all of us more of a feeling of confidence. And everybody's been talking about it's all about relationships and it's all about trust. So for me, I feel the more transparency there can be, there's kind of a formulaic relationship there with if we're all kind of on the same page as much as possible, we can move forward in so much more of a purposeful way. Just if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect. Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
I was in high school and I went to see Pippin, and the leading player, he was wearing body mic, and it was in one of his solo numbers, and the mic pack came undone, and it was going to cause some serious problems, and he just stayed in character, stayed in his attitude. He took it off, in rhythm, took it off and just shot it off stage, and it was just, he didn't miss a beat. And maybe I was sitting close enough to notice, but it was so inspiring to say, that's what you do with a mistake in theater, and that's how you handle it in life. That was handling it with grace. It was just so, that was professionalism, because everything, it's not about how you handle a perfect situation, right?
Yeah.
It's about what do you do when things go wrong. So that's still just a crystal clear memory in my mind. So thanks for reminding me of that.
All right. Well, Audrey, thank you for coming in, sitting down, and having this fun with us today.
Well, thank you. This was lovely. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Fiona Nagel, booking manager with Cadenza Artists. I make connections with presenters. I'm the middleman between our artists and all the theaters and venues that are out there in the world, and hoping to make sure that our presenters have really wonderful acts for their audiences and that our artists have really wonderful play dates and fulfilling their dreams.
Why the arts? Why do you do what you do?
Oh, I grew up in the arts. I started dancing when I was 3 years old, been on stage since I was 5, had a full career as a classical ballet dancer. Left that, went to school, did a whole lot of other things, and then pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And then I came back because I knew that someday I would need to get back into the arts because that's my home.
Why conferences, and what is your favorite conference moment?
I think conferences are a great way to have that one-on-one FaceTime with everybody you've been talking to on the phone and by Zoom all year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really getting to see everybody in 3D. There's nothing else that's like that. My favorite conference moment, well, this conference has been amazing. I've had a lot of fun at this one. This is my third one. I think sitting down yesterday with a presenter who started talking to me about a new system he's created with focus groups to figure out how to do programming for the next year. I got so excited about it, I told him he needs to do a TED Talk, he needs to do a PowerPoint, he needs to share this far and wide because so many presenters out there are having such trouble with audiences these days and figuring out who's there, who's coming, and who's not, and what they want.
What would be the best piece of business advice that you could give to a new colleague?
Well, first of all, at a conference, wear good shoes.
That is a great piece of advice.
Just in general, I think having intention, like start every day with what do I want to be today? Do I want to be calm, serene, excited? What do I want to bring to the table for the people I'm talking with today? And then be that.
What is your hope for the future of our industry? And what changes would you like to see within our industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
Because I was a classical ballet dancer, I would love to see a lot more engagement with audiences around dance and ballet, of course, because that's my heart. And there really hasn't been as much in the last few years. Misty Copeland kind of, put a good shot of new energy into the audience engagement, but I think we need more of that.
What is your favorite onstage disaster that you have either witnessed or been around?
So my personal one when I was dancing was right at the very end of a 3-person, a trio piece. And I was just exiting the stage on this lovely, last runoff into the wings. And something happened and I hit the floor, which is not the last moment you want to have, at the end of the piece. And just managed to get myself up. And I remembered my mentor had said, if you're going to make a mistake on stage, make it really big. So I just got up in the most grandiose way possible and just floated off the stage. And my teacher was in the wings. She says, "Oh my God, I have never seen such a beautiful F up."
Awesome.
And I'll give you another one.
Yeah.
Okay. Last year, again, I was watching a ballet, a local Nutcracker, actually. Something happened to the music, and there was no music, and it cut out right in the middle of the snow scene. And those girls kept on going. Perfectly in time with each other, perfectly in sync, kept on going, and finished the entire dance that way. And the whole audience was right there with them on the edge of their seats. And when those girls finished, standing ovations, screaming in the aisles.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sitting down with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Leslie Rodriguez, Executive Director of the Dominican University Performing Arts Center in River Forest, Illinois. So I curate the season, I market the season, I write the grants for the University Arts Center, I bring in the rentals, and I have a staff of 3 that works with me.
So many hats.
Many hats.
Excellent. And so why the arts? And why do you do what you do?
When I was 7 years old, I saw Fiddler on the Roof, and that was it. I was done.
I love that.
I was going to be an actor, and I went to college for acting, and then I decided what I really wanted to be was an arts administrator, because there's a lot of actors and not enough arts administrators. And I really enjoy creating a place for art.
Why conferences? And then a follow-up to that is, what is your favorite conference moment?
Conferences are the one place where I really am with my people, right? I think so many of us are alone. We're the only person who does what we do where we do it. So when I come to the conference, I'm with people like you and all of these other colleagues who've become friends, including the agents and the artists. And it's a community that I don't have in my everyday to the same extent. I mean, I have my team and they're wonderful, but this is a much bigger family. So that's why conferences. My favorite conference moment. I would have to think about that, honestly.
What's the best piece of business advice you can offer to colleagues new to the field?
Talk to everyone.
Yes.
Right? Just and be bold.
Yeah.
Walk up to people you don't know and say, "Hi, who are you? This is who I am." The elevator conferences or conversations are so much fun because you see people with the same badge and you're like, "Hey, who are you? Why are you here?" And I've met so many people that way. And ask questions.
Yeah.
Everybody will answer them. That's what I learned. There's no secrets. Everybody will talk about what they do because we're all so happy to be together.
So what is your hope for the future of our industry? So what kind of changes would you like to see happen?
Well, I'd certainly like to see the audiences come back. I think we're all struggling right now. But I think it's a reset, and I think we'll find new ways of doing things. It's a moment to step back and say, well, how do I do it differently, or what do I do that's new? We're looking at sort of scrapping our programming model and starting over. We'll go back to the beginning of the life cycle, and we'll look at some youth and family programming that we really haven't done, but I think that's maybe where our audience is now. So I'm hoping that we thrive, but we find some new energy in a way to do that.
Yes, now's the time. What is your favorite stage mishap that you have witnessed or been a part of?
Okay, some people know this story. When I was 18 years old, I was an exchange student living in France, and I was in a show that was sort of a variety show, right, for all the after-school arts programs. During the curtain call of the final show, the table that I was dancing on with one other person fell over, crashed to the ground. I broke both of my arms.
Oh my gosh.
I was in the hospital for a week. But I remember laying on the floor thinking, what was that noise? And then realizing it was me.
Oh my God.
And then there's many stories that come after that. But yeah, that was a biggie.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, Leslie, that is it. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to There's No Business Like. Our producers and hosts are Brian Zelmer, Josh Benson, Kevin Maynard, Katie Miller, and me, Danielle Vanhoe. Views expressed in this podcast are ours alone and are not reflective of the organizations we are a part of. Keep up with us at nobusinesslike.com. There you'll find links to all of our episodes and socials. If you like this podcast, give us a like, a follow, a review, or our favorite, a 5-star rating. Oh wait, what was that site? I got it, don't worry. It is nobusinesslike.com. Do I sound out bus-I-ness every time I type it? Yep, sure do. Stay in touch, my friends.
Did I do 4 just now? Yes, sorry. We should mention it's the end of the conference, so we're all a little bit fried.
We are fried, yes.